In this series of videos, I will walk through the process of configuring MyAssays Desktop Enhanced Security for use on the WIZARD2's own PC and for integration with the WIZARD2's own Enhanced Security system. In this way, a secure integration between counting, data analysis and reporting can be provided. This is necessary when working in a 21CFR11 or GxP environment. There is a separate video available providing an introduction to MyAssays Desktop Enhanced Security features in general. I recommend reviewing that video first, give you a broader view of the features available and how this system can satisfy regulatory requirements. In this video series, I will show how to configure MyAssays Desktop Enhanced Security on the WIZARD2's own PC using our recommended configuration for this system. This video series is intended for those responsible for installing and configuring the system, including system administrators. This series has 4 parts. In this first part, I provide an introduction and go through the MyAssays Desktop security configuration. In the second part, I'll talk about user management, and then in part 3, I'll go over protocol configuration both for counting and data analysis. In the final part, I'll walk through counting and results with the final configured system. Now, before I start with the specifics of this recommended configuration, I would like to point out that it is possible to adjust these settings as might be necessary for different workflows or the configuration of your lab. For example, MyAssays Desktop Enhanced Security provides a number of different configuration options, including different authentication options. This is how the user is identified. So this could be using the Windows login, or it could be a MyAssays Desktop login where each user identifies themselves directly to the MyAssays Desktop system. Also, there are different authentication context options available, including local machine and domain users. So if you already have users defined on a domain, you can reuse those existing user configurations and greatly simplify your user management processes. Also, there are different ways to store, share or partition data between users. These topics are covered in more detail in other videos, but here I'm going to show our recommended configuration when working with MyAssays Desktop Enhanced Security on the WIZARD2's own PC. So to get started, it's important to understand the different types of users involved with the system. The first type of user are Windows users. This is how users log on to Windows. So there's the administrator and WizUser account. So the administrator account is required to administer the system. For general use, users will log on to Windows using the WizUser account. Windows users are administered by the standard Windows user management tools. The second type of users are WIZARD2 operators. These are the users that can work with the WIZARD2 counter itself. These are administrated separately by the WIZARD2 security management tool. Third user type is MyAssays Desktop users. These are users that are able to use the MyAssays Desktop system. These user accounts are administered by the standard Windows user management tools. Also, authorizations are administered by the MyAssays Desktop Enhanced Security Management tool. To illustrate these different types of users, throughout this series of videos, I'll use some example users. But of course, we have the Windows users, the administrator, and the WizUser account. These are the default Windows users on the WIZARD2 PC system, and we'll be using those here. Also, we will set up some WIZARD2 operators. We'll create an account called Marie. Now, Marie will be able to create, edit, run counting protocols. And Albert will only be able to run counting protocols. So he won't be able to create or edit counting protocols himself. Also, we'll create some MyAssays Desktop users. Now, again, we'll have Marie here, and she can create, edit, run data analysis protocols. And we'll also have Bob, who can run and review analysis protocol results. Now, you'll notice that Marie can use both WIZARD2 software and the MyAssays Desktop user software, whereas Albert can only use the WIZARD2 software and Bob can only use the MyAssays Desktop software. So we've used this example configuration here to illustrate how the system can be configured to define different types of users that have different access rights or authorizations to the system. For example, here Marie is responsible for creating, counting and analysis protocols. She might configure protocols with data analysis, whereas Albert can run those counting protocols, and if they include data analysis, that analysis will be performed automatically. Now, although Albert cannot access MyAssays Desktop himself, his data will be analyzed using the protocols Marie has set up, perhaps printing or exporting the results automatically. Similarly, Bob can't run counting protocols himself, but he can run MyAssays Desktop protocols or results as required. This is just one example configuration. It's possible to grant different users with different authorizations as might be required. Now, before we set up the enhanced security system, there are a couple of prerequisites to cover. Firstly, this configuration assumes you're working with the enhanced security system on the WIZARD2's own PC. If you're working on a different system, then this specific configuration is not applicable. Also, I'm assuming that the default administrator and Wiz user accounts are set up, and that you've got Windows administrator privileges to install the software. So this means that you're logged in on with the Windows administrator account. Also, it's important that the Windows administrator account has a password set. If that account does not have a password set, then MyAssays Desktop Enhanced Security cannot be installed. I'm also assuming here that the WIZARD2 Enhanced Security system is installed and configured. Also, that the MyAssays Desktop software is installed with this license activated. So with that configuration in place, we can start to enable the MyAssays Desktop Enhanced Security system. First, on the WIZARD2 PC, let's log in as the administrator. So once we're logged in as the administrator, we can launch the MyAssays Desktop Explorer application. Now at this stage, MyAssays Desktop is not running in Enhanced Security mode. We can enable it from Tools and select the Enable Security option. This launches the Security Configuration Wizard. This will guide us through the process of setting up Enhanced Security. On the first step, we can select On to turn on Enhanced Security. On the next step, we can select the authentication method. When using the Enhanced Security system on the PC connected to the WIZARD2, we can use the MyAssays Desktop login authentication method. This means that each time we use MyAssays Desktop, the user must log into MyAssays Desktop directly. It also means that all users of the PC share a common Windows login account, and in this case it's the Wiz user account. So let's type that Windows login account name in here. On the next step, we can specify the authentication context. In this example, I'm going to use local machine accounts. However, if you have users defined on a domain, then you could select the domain option here. So let's press next to continue. Now on this step, we can specify the Windows user group name. This Windows user group is used to identify which users will have access to MyAssays Desktop. So only users that belong to this Windows user group will have access to MyAssays Desktop. Now there is already a Wiz users group set up on the WIZARD2 system. So let's use that user group name here. We'll also select the option to add the administrator account to this user group and set as system administrator. This means we'll be able to log into MyAssays Desktop Explorer using the administrator account straight away. So let's press next. And on this next step, we can configure the auto login account. And when working with WIZARD2 and MyAssays Desktop, data analysis is automatically performed using an auto login account. This means that when the WIZARD2 has completed its counting, it can automatically perform data analysis with MyAssays Desktop under this special account. This enables a seamless handoff of data from counting to data analysis. Now, it's important that this auto login account has restricted permissions, so that it can only perform functions that are relevant to processing data collected from the WIZARD2 counting protocols. We can select this auto login group to be run and review only. This means that this account is restricted to being able to run data analysis and review results. Let's press next to continue, and on this step we can define an approved import folder. This option adds a further layer of protection to the software. It means that data can only be imported from a specific approved folder on this computer. So let's enable this option, and we can specify the WIZARD2 data folder. This is actually the data folder where the WIZARD2 software outputs the data files containing the results of a counting protocol. With this setting configured, users will not be able to import data from any other location on this computer. So let's press next to continue. And on this step, we can configure whether to use Word, Excel report protection. This option is useful if you plan to export results to Word or Excel. The setting will protect the generated Word or Excel reports so that they can't be modified after they've been created. So let's enable this function. There's also an option here to customize word protection. Now there are two options available. You can select to protect the whole document or only the results. Only results is useful if there will be portions of your Word export that can be modified by the user. This could be a note section or digital signatures. It allows users to be able to add further content to a report, such as the signature, whilst preserving and protecting the results part of the report. Now, if you're going to use this option, then ensure that you set up a password and keep this password private. Only users with knowledge of this password will be able to bypass the Word and Excel report protection. On the next step of the security configuration wizard, we see a summary of the changes that will be applied. Now, when we're ready to apply these changes, we need to close any open MyAssays Desktop windows and press apply. And those changes are made to the system. After the configuration settings are applied, we can press finish to close the wizard and launch MyAssays Desktop Explorer. So now you'll notice we now need to log into the application. So at this stage, we can log in with the administrator account because the security wizard added this account to the system for us automatically. So remember that the credentials that you enter here are the same credentials as for the administrator account that you use to log into Windows. Now at this point, you'll notice the MyAssays Desktop Explorer displays this padlock icon. This identifies that Enhanced Security is now enabled. We also see the logged in username and details about the login. This will also report any failed or recent login sessions. You can also see here a notification message that Enhanced Security is enabled, but the system is not currently secured because we're logged into Windows with the administrator account. So this message reminds us that we've configured the system for routine use under the WizUser account. However, for getting started and running as an administrator, then it's okay to use the software under this administrator account. But be sure that when you have finished your configuration, that for routine use, the system is used under the WizUser Windows login. So now we've configured the system for integration with the WIZARD2's Enhanced Security system. In the next video in this series, I'll show how to create and manage users of the system, both WIZARD2 operators and MyAssays Desktop users, building on the configuration that we have set up here.